Neen James, fantastic productivity queen, thought leader extraordinaire. And that's what I want to talk about is thought leadership,
Perfect.
especially how it comes in connection with where I'm going. How do I set myself up for success? Last book,
Folding Time, How to Achieve Twice as Much in Half the Amount of Time.
that was a big one.
It was.
That
It's
was a
been
big one.
great.
Yeah. How do I create or set myself up to be a thought leader and shave off some of that learning for me?
Thought leaders really have the ability to share a unique perspective in the world. A true thought leader shifts industry thinking. So if you think of an Elon Musk and Tesla and some of the work that he has done, not only has he shifted industry, but he has disrupted industry and he has shared his intellectual property. As speakers, as thought leaders, we have three responsibilities: think, sell, and deliver.
Let's take the first one. Think. What do you mean?
So in the Thought Leaders Global community, we believe that you need the ability to capture your intellectual property in a very unique way that you share it in the world. So that means you need the ability to communicate your message contextually, big picture, through metaphors and through models, but also conceptually, what's your point that you want your audience to know? And then thirdly, what's the content that supports that? So if you think of those three C's as context, concept, and content. Now, we're really good as speakers coming up with content. We come up with stories, personal observations, ancient history. It's great, but to really differentiate yourself as a thought leader, you want to be able to showcase your work in a model that is uniquely yours, that requires your explanation, but when your audience sees it, it lands everything for them. So models really are squares, circles, and triangles. Right? They just smush together and they make up your IP, right? Look at some of the famous models through history, the quadrant model of Covey. Like, think about all the things where it becomes uniquely theirs. When you develop model, you set yourself apart as someone who can think strategically, but the audience members who think that way, that resonates with them. But sometimes you've got more right brain thinkers in your audience and they love metaphors. The great thing about a metaphor in your IP is it's memorable and repeatable. And in a conference, that's what people are talking about, often your metaphoric examples. So thought leaders need the ability to be able to capture their IP in a way that they can deliver it for more commercial success. It's not just about having a whole lot of stories. It's about making it commercially successful.
Is it just that this particular speaker in this area is talking and using the idea of a donut, and this particular person is using the metaphor of a three-legged stool? Same information, but the metaphor is different? Or are you saying that, no, it's more than that, that's just the method of getting your idea across? I mean, well, what I'm trying to, so what's the difference?
The difference is that every speaker brings to the platform a set of unique experiences. You have things that have happened to you on your journey in life, and you have an area of expertise. Possibly you have a lesson you've been learning your whole life. And this lesson, when you start to package it, you package it more uniquely than anyone else. So while a donut and a stool are different metaphors, no one will ever be able to stand on the platform and share your life experiences, your expertise, what you've been exposed to. The thought leadership system that we have captures all of that in a very unique way so that you can make money out of it.
So I've got to be able to take my experiences, what I want to pass on, and put it in a way that the audience says, I get that, I relate to that, I remember that.
Right.
That's uniquely me.
Yes. And what does that mean for them? Because it's all about them. So it's not about you standing on a stage and telling all these stories. I think that's important as a speaker. But when you're thinking about thought leadership as a strategy for growing your practice, then you've got to be able to think about it in a way that makes it commercially successful. And part of the commercial success is differentiation. Models, metaphors, stories, case studies, examples, statistics, things that will back up your expertise.
Do we just claim to be a thought leader? I mean, when do you know you are a thought leader as opposed to somebody with just an idea that it would love to share my take on this particular thing?
I think a lot of people can claim they are thought leaders.
I know, I have.
However, I suggest to be a thought leader, not a thought repeater. I think in our industry, people regurgitate and vomit up all this content that is not theirs. And I think you need to find your unique perspective. So I think thought leadership is something that you build, that you have credibility builders. A really great book is a credibility builder. It positions you uniquely in the market. So when people think of you, they're like, that's the person that I want to hire for this event. So thought leadership as a term is something that I think an industry calls you. I think your clients call you that. Look, we could all put thought leadership on our business cards. We could all say we're a thought leader. And in our own unique way we are. It's just you need to be able to capture it differently. Don't say what everyone else is saying. Don't regurgitate everybody else's stuff. Go through your experiences, what you know. and capture that thought leadership.
I've got the first part, the thinking part, and I think I have something that is unique and I want to offer it. And the second piece you're talking about is the selling part.
Right.
What is that?
Selling thought leadership is different to selling because it's an intangible product. And I think often when we sell thought leadership, it's different insofar as you have to position yourself as the thought leader. So instead of someone saying, well, what do you do? Often people say, I'm an attorney, I'm an accountant, I'm a speaker. And there's a different way to be able to have that conversation. You've got to be able to address for the people that you're talking to, what are their known spoken problems? So what is it that they might be willing to admit in front of 100 people that that's a problem they have? But the other problem you need to be able to declare is the known unspoken problems. If you and I were just sitting at the bar with a glass of red wine, or champagne in my case, and we were talking about some of the particular challenges you had, what would be the known unspoken problems someone would say to you one-on-one? As a thought leader, your job is to be able to know what your clients would say publicly and privately about the concerns they have. And the way you sell thought leadership is you have the solution for that. If you don't have the solution for that, then you recommend someone else. So selling thought leadership, it's not about taking your package and making it fit for everyone. It's about knowing your clients so intimately that you know the problems that they have, the known problems they would declare, and the known problems they might just share.
Any tips on how to get into their nightmares? I'm just asking.
You know, one of the things we do with every client before we keynote, we always interview 5 to 10 of the key leaders, people that will be recognized in the organization. And I ask generally 3 questions. I will say, what are the biggest challenges in the organization right now? So if I was talking about productivity, it would be, what are the biggest productivity challenges in the organization right now? They're going to solicit information there. We'll say, what's the best way for me to add value to your group? As an open question, they will share with you things they don't like, things that are important to them and what's driving their business. And then thirdly, I'll say, what else do I need to be aware of? These open questions allow me to drill quite deep and get some of that information to understand some of those concerns. But my job, I think selling thought leadership and selling in general has changed. We don't convince anyone to buy from us anymore. We need to stand in our conviction we have the right thing for them. It's a different sales process. So I believe in my heart that if I can solve the concerns they have, then I have a solution. But I also know sometimes I don't, and I recommend another speaker, or I make a different suggestion because I'm not a fit for everybody. So selling thought leadership is different. I think the old way of selling doesn't work anymore.
One of my favorite phrases is, if I make you buy something or do something you don't want or need, I'm a con man, not a salesman.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right, yeah.
And now more than ever before, because when you think about social media and the way that people have access to information, it's information overload. You know, there's 3,000 books published on a daily basis. There's more text messages sent and received on a daily basis than there are people on the planet. Our job as thought leaders is to be able to cut through all of that and find what's most relevant, meaningful, and current for that particular audience and that client.
And package it in a way that makes sense.
Commercial sense. It has to make commercial sense. You could be a speaker, you could be a trainer, an author, a facilitator, a mentor, or a coach. But I think there's 6 ways to deliver our intellectual property. The thing about these is that they're all different depending on what your strengths are. So you may take one message, like I have Folding Time, and that's an opening keynote product. But I also have a half-day workshop that I do as well. So it gives me something else to share with the client. I've also written a book by the same title. So speaker, author, and trainer, that's a nice way to be able to diversify the mode. Some of the thought leaders we've worked with, one particular person, they took their keynote and they created a half-day workshop as an extra sale product. Another thought leader that we work with created a mentoring program online, and as a result, she created an incredibly successful additional revenue stream to her practice. So it's about taking your intellectual property and thinking, how would people like to hear this, and how do I love to deliver it? And when you deliver it in a way that you love, it makes such a big difference.
You hear all the time that everybody needs a book.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think that's crazy.
Why?
Because speakers publish books before they should. And I was one of those speakers. So I published my first book thinking, because everyone said, you got to have a book. So I put a book out. It was all right. It wasn't great. And I think what happens is we publish our books before we're really clear in our area of thought leadership, before we've differentiated our thought leadership. And also, we don't have a platform for it. We don't have a distribution arm. So all these speakers have these basements full of books, right? Well, that was me. I was stupid. I did the same thing. It wasn't until I really created and got clear on the Folding Time model that I developed. So all the research I did, and the Folding Time, how to achieve twice as much in half the amount of time, is my credibility book. I think that's different. But I don't think that every speaker necessarily needs a book for credibility. Think about how many platforms we have now through social media to share our intellectual property. It used to be that the book was a way to build credibility. Now we can do it through Twitter. Goodness, through Vine videos. I mean, you name it, there's so many ways we can build credibility now. It's different. It's a different time.
So do the work. Think
the
it
work.
through, get your model, get your metaphors, get your thought. This is who I am.
Right.
Think about how that is sold to the market and build your models and distribute accordingly in those 6 ways to the way your clients need it, the things that make you happy, and you will find yourself a thought leader. If I wanted to follow up, where would I go?
NeenJames.com. There's lots of free resources that people can download there. Go to the Thought Leadership tab and you'll find lots of resources there. There's a chapter of a book called Sell Your Thoughts. There's a sample chapter there. You may want to download that as well. And that's a really great place to start.
Good. Getting us out of the pool of everybody is Neen James. I appreciate your time.
Hey, my pleasure. It's a
much
privilege to be here.
So
Thanks
much
so much. I know, always fun.